Welcome to another episode of SFG TV's District SF, featuring District 4. I'm Jennifer Lowe. For many San Franciscans, District 4 seems far away and mysterious. Today, we'll uncover the unique appeal of life in the Sunset District. We'll reveal the highlights, the problems, the opportunities, and the solutions, right here on District SF.
We're lucky to have the ocean, and a lot of people enjoy the ocean. We are also bordered by Golden Gate Park, as well as the zoo. And so there's a lot of activities for families in my district. I also have a lot of kids, probably one of the districts with the highest amount of kids and families. The Sunset traditionally has been a quiet district. We have a lot of working families, a lot of seniors.
I like living out here because I like the weather especially, but I like the fact that it's such a multicultural area. It's very diverse out here. And that's very important when you're raising children, not to isolate them. Here, my children have friends of all nationalities. I have friends. You associate with all different people, and that's very important.
I kind of love this neighborhood because I'm accepted in this neighborhood and all over the city, and I enjoy this area.
I've really enjoyed this community. The air is extremely clean. It is beautiful surroundings, close to the ocean, excellent transportation. It's diverse, like San Francisco. You walk in this area and you hear many languages that are being spoken. There's a very significant Russian community. The Asian American community has many different countries represented.
The fog I like the ocean. I like Golden Gate Park. Being here at Java Beach, kind of the center of where all sorts of different types of people mix, is also fun to be a part of.
It's a family, it's a community. We're always taking care of each other, always watching each other's backs.
Part of my objectives of moving out here were, one, being close to the beach, but two, also having more of a sense of community. And I really feel that I recognize my neighbors, I have coffee with them, I know the local business owners. A lot of it is actually focused around the beach and this connection with the beach. In an urban setting, you have limited public space, and living right on the beach gives me a sense of openness.
As we've just heard, there's some really great things about District 4. But as with any other district in the city, there are some problems. Let's hear from the Sunset residents about what's bugging them.
The Sunset traditionally has been a quiet district. We have a lot of working families, a lot of seniors, and so we're not the most vocal district. And I think one of the things that we're always fighting for is more resources out in the Sunset District. We're always trying to make sure that our police station is fully staffed. We're fighting for more beat officers to be out on the street. We want our fire stations open. It's a very pro-public safety district. And we want more services for our kids at the community centers, more after-school programs and preschools and lunch programs and breakfasts at the schools. We want neighborhood schools. Parents buy homes in the district so that they can make sure their kids get to and from school safely, and it's also cuts down on commute times.
We're labeled as, a neighborhood that's well off and doing okay. We've got kids that are struggling, families that are struggling, and we're just as much in need as a lot of people.
Having a district supervisor is very good, except for one thing: we only have one and there are 10 others. And they look at the Sunset as this rich, everybody's a homeowner type thing. They have no concept of what the Sunset is, so it leaves us, one little district, fighting to say, hey, look at us. We have children, we have juvenile delinquency, we have homeless people, we have a drug rehab center, we have problems with muni, we have schools. We need homes out here, we need low-income housing. But nobody sees that, because when you come through here, you don't see it, but it's here.
The Sunset District is famous for its proximity to both Golden Gate Park and the beach, attractions that draw visitors from all over the world. Unfortunately, some of these visitors can cause problems for the locals. In our next segment, District 4 residents talk about the dark side of being popular.
Out here at the end of Judah, well, we have a lot of problems. We've been pretty neglected by city agencies as far as, like if you look at the landscaping on the Great Highway, it's just myoclone trees that are more like bushes. I mean, it'd be one thing if there were trees, but it's bushes where people throw their garbage.
In our work with the city and GGNRA, we've had some frustrations as working with any large bureaucracy is apt to happen with finger pointing or territory or jurisdictional issues. So for GGNRA, it's the beach cleanliness, the enforcement of existing law. So the bonfire management policy, littering policies, encampment in the dunes. And then on the city side, it's maintenance of trash cans, removal of refuse from the streets.
Traditionally, along Ocean Beach, there were a lot of campers and a lot of homeless folks, and they would just disregard that whole area. They would just dump their garbage out on the sidewalk. There were drug dealers, there was prostitution, there was all sorts of things that were happening down there.
In an actual neighborhood where families are and where people are living, we're getting the worst of the worst from downtown, from the Civic Center, from the Tenderloin, from the Haight-Ashbury. They're getting sent out here, and there are problems. And a lot of these guys are violent and dangerous. It would be one thing if we had a lot of police down here, but we don't, because Taraville Station's so big that they can't handle these guys.
Some of this really speaks to larger social issues. When people are not able to make enough money to be able to pay their own way, to be able to rent a house, to be able to be normal participants in our society, and are forced to live in very primitive conditions.
One of the main issues that we're dealing with is clean beaches. So we have a unique situation in San Francisco where we don't have really a beach culture, and it's really an urban environment where we have the urban and the beach meeting at Ocean Beach. So we get a lot of refuse from the streets out on the beach, and we have a lot of urban users on the beach, including people sleeping in the dunes, people using bonfires, and there's a lot of just refuse and garbage that ends up on the beach. We've noticed through our work on cleaning up the beach, which we do about once a month, that the concentration of the hazardous materials and the trash are typically around bonfires.
The bonfires are illegal from Lincoln to Sloat, and then you're also only supposed to burn certain types of wood and stuff like that. So one of the problems is the bonfires aren't patrolled on the parts that it's illegal. So the problem is most guys who know they're going to be burning some illegal things or be having illegal parties with a lot of alcohol and a lot of noise and stuff like that come to the part where it's already illegal, where it's not being monitored by the police. So you have a lot of vandalism out here, you have a lot of fights out here. You know, we've had our benches torn out twice, planter boxes, windows get broken. Sometimes they go right up Judah Street just breaking all the windows. And just every Friday, Saturday night, people scream and fight out here.
I do think that bonfires are a lot of fun. They had them when I was in school. I just think they should be a little bit regulated, where you get a permit, bring your wood, stay away from people's porches and their fences. And I think a deal could be worked.
But frankly, I think that this neighborhood is a very clean neighborhood. I certainly have to pick up in front of my house on a daily basis, but I think all neighbors need to be doing that. I walk all over the Sunset, and I don't see the accumulation of trash that is seen in other neighborhoods. I believe that the people here really do take pride in their community.
In terms of safety, I feel relatively safe. There seems to be some petty crime, including breaking into cars. I haven't heard a lot of violent crime, which is good. I feel relatively safe.
Crime here isn't as visible. There is a certain amount of crime, not like in a lot of neighborhoods. I am not afraid to go for a walk at night. I don't feel as frightened here, but a lot of that is the fact I have a lot of confidence in the Taraville police station. I know they're patrolling, and I'm not nervous about it.
Clean water is an issue. It's not, typically it's only during these peak rainfall periods and it's the primary factor of that is increased urban runoff. There is an impact from other parts of the city. So as we mentioned, the storm drains connect to the beach. So, a lot of the winds will deposit detritus into the bay, which ends up on Ocean Beach. A lot of stuff comes down from the delta, including shotgun shells and beer cans that end up deposited on Ocean Beach, especially during the winter seasons.
According to a study that was released, I believe last year, about 65% of families with children under 6 expect that they are going to move out of the city within the next 3 years. That is alarming. It's something that we need to pay attention to, but I think there's a number of factors that contribute to that. Number one is the quality of education. People do want good schools for their kids, and so it's important that we do whatever we can to make sure that we maintain our quality education. Number two is the high cost of living, especially the high cost of housing. And so when you look at how much houses cost in the Sunset District versus outside in the Bay Area, parents start weighing the cost of living. And I think the third is the amount of services that parents feel like they're getting. We do a great job in providing healthy families. That's our universal health care. We have free preschool programs, we have free after-school programs, we have free lunch and breakfast programs in our schools, but they really cater toward the low-income kids. And a whole segment that's missing is the working class folks, and I think those are the families that are thinking about leaving because of some of the services. They have to pay for everything, and so on top of the high cost of living, they also have to pay for all these additional services. And so, it's all about choices, and I think San Francisco needs to do a better job in trying to keep our working class families here as well.
A majority of the families that I work with are actually a lot of single parent homes that are struggling to pay bills, and all of the families I actually work with come here every Thursday at 5 o'clock to get groceries from us. We get groceries donated to us from the San Francisco Food Bank, and these families actually rely heavily on these groceries. There's actually a really big population of low-income families out here in the neighborhood. A lot of the kids struggle with education, trying to stay in school, and when they're in school, being in class and staying engaged. My biggest frustration is the families not being engaged in their lives as much as they should be. I think it all stems from that. If the parents and the families could, and I know it's hard sometimes because we all have to work for a living in order to give our children what they need. They're not engaged in their children's lives as much. And I think that's with education, that's, building family time into their lives. The majority of the families I work with are Asian and non-English speaking. It's a huge communication barrier. It's just really hard, especially for immigrant families who don't know the language. It's hard to get places. It's hard to do things.
We have a great deal of senior citizens out here. Yeah, you're living in an $800,000 home, paid for, and you've got a Social Security check. You're showing up at the food bank. You're using the little neighborhood clinics. People need to know that we need more help for our seniors out here. We have recreation out here, but we need more. We have teenagers out here. We have a lot of immigrant children. We have immigrant families out here, and there needs to be more community involvement with our immigrant community. We need more housing for working class people. This gets to be a big issue. We have young couples out here. We have young families working 2 and 3 jobs to try and pay extraordinarily high rent.
It's estimated over 100,000 people in San Francisco, well over 100,000 do not have health care. In this, I don't know how many people in the Sunset do not have health care insurance, but I imagine it is dramatic.
I would say for seniors here, we have 1 or 2 food banks out here. We need more outreach to them. If you could be here on a Thursday when the food bank is open, you see it's a lot of senior citizens out here. To me, that's almost disrespectful. We need health care. We need people who can go and visit seniors. I truly believe that there are probably people who get ill and stay in their apartments for days and nobody ever comes.
Parents want the best education for their kids. And it's a issue of supply and demand. The schools that are doing well, of course, all the parents want their kids to go to that school.
I have no clue where people ever got the idea that we ever had neighborhood schools or that you had a choice. I grew up south of Market. I went to Francisco Junior High. It's nice if you can be in your neighborhood, but it's not your right. You don't own a school. This attitude of, this is my neighborhood and I want to build a fence around it is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. And if you keep your mouth going that way about, I don't want to be with those people, you're going to find some very serious issues in this city.
I think the issue is how do we balance? How do we try to create good schools in all the different districts so that parents and kids will want to go there? I think part of it is the school district making it a priority.
San Franciscans rarely agree on how to deal with the issue of housing. Let's talk with some District 4 residents and hear what they have to say about this ongoing controversy.
One of the biggest problems is a lack of housing. So what do? We've got to get off the planning commission's back. We got to get the planning commission and give them some flexibility. We've got to legalize the in-law apartments. That gives you at least, it's a studio, it's a one-bedroom. This is a young couple who's starting out, and at the same time, if it's a senior who owns the house, you've helped two people. We need to be able to build more apartment buildings. It's nice to be able to have your own home. We need to be able to do more condos. People want a sense of ownership. We need to keep people in our city. We need the tax base.
It is, I think, very important to maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods and that we don't end up having huge buildings everywhere. We do need to do something to provide more housing for people. And I'm a strong advocate of more housing along corridors where there is already a great deal of mass transit.
If we are going to increase the density along those transit corridors, we have to make sure that the transit is working properly. As we all know, Muni has been facing also a big budget deficit, and they have decreased some of their service, and that's really taken a toll on the community.
Pedestrian safety, parking, and the quality of Muni service are concerns throughout San Francisco. Let's talk to Sunset residents about the transportation situation.
Parking and transportation out here, I think Muni is great in the Sunset. The 71, the N. Judah, the El Taravel.
I don't think it's ever sufficient. We're supposed to be a transit-first city, and if so, we have to have a Muni system that is 100% or close to 100% reliable, because people depend on getting to work on time. They depend on getting to appointments on time, or picking up their kids, or seniors making appointments. It's just crucial, and I think given the budget deficit and the difficulties Muni's having, it's definitely far from enough right now, and so we need to focus on, I think, economic development, trying to bring more money to the city so that we can put more money back into these systems, especially Muni, if we're going to be truly a transit-first city.
I do think government should work to encourage people to use public transit more. The cost of fuel right now is causing people to make that sort of a choice. People are choosing to drive less. I personally believe that the cost of our fuel is far less than what is actually the overall cost to society as a result of use of automobiles.
Now, parking is a whole different issue. I detest the fact that they are so quick to ticket out here. People need to understand, we live here. If I'm parked in my driveway, don't touch my car. You know, why are you telling me my car can't be parked on the sidewalk? It's not your business. If I'm not blocking the sidewalk, leave it alone. I really think that it should be a neighborhood issue, a neighborhood by neighborhood issue, as to what kind of parking do you want in your neighborhood.
We have certain corridors that do complain about people parking in the neighborhoods and hopping on the N-Judah or the Taravel line, but for the most part, I think people can find parking, and the traffic and the congestion has not been that bad over the last couple of years.
I have a real problem with the people who, when every time the sun shines, suddenly remembers there's a beach. It makes parking difficult. They clog up the roads, but fortunately the sun isn't that bright all the time.
This is a part of town that is very easy for people to own a car. Parking out here is very easy.
Parking and traffic down here is a problem for one reason, is that it's such a long stretch of parking with no meters or anything like that, or no monitored parking, that people bring their second and third cars and park them down here. People bring their buses down here, their campers down here, their trucks from construction companies, and some of them could take up to about 4 spaces apiece. As you can see, if you look down, just all the campers and the vans where people just live in their cars.
Pedestrian safety is a big issue in the Sunset. 19th Avenue, Sunset, I almost believe we need to slow down the traffic along there. But it's an issue that could be handled, to me, if people would follow simple rules. Try not jaywalking. I know they talk about drivers, education. Pedestrians need an education too. Don't run across the street.
19th Avenue is a very dangerous street. Cars travel very quickly. Sunset Boulevard is another one, and you know, occasionally in my walks down there, you'll see a memorial to somebody who has been either injured or killed.
We have a lot of youth walking around in the streets unsupervised. It's just not too safe sometimes.
We really need to have better traffic lights, perhaps even slow things down a little bit, do some traffic calming measures.
You do have people who speed around and they don't stop at stop signs, where you'll never see, say, like a motorcycle officer down here hiding. You'll never down here, and you'll never see anybody getting pulled over for running stop signs or speeding or anything like that. Because like I said, we're the very corner of Taravel Station. We have one guy that comes out here and patrols, and he does a great job. And we have a great captain at Taravel Station, so that's not the problem. The problem is there's no bodies out here, there's not enough people, and we're just too far away from Taravel Station.
The year I got elected, 19th Avenue, we saw 3 fatalities along 19th Avenue, so immediately we focused on what are we going to do. With then Mayor Willie Brown, we launched a campaign called Slow Down, Look Around, and we had those slogans on all the buses, on billboards, and trying to bring awareness to both drivers as well as pedestrians that they need to take that extra second to slow down, to look around. Since then, I'm very proud to report over the last 3.5 years that there hasn't been as many fatalities, and we basically have put a lot of resources along the 19th Avenue corridor. We are going to be doing a lot of improvements to 19th Avenue, and I think all of those things are going to be very useful in slowing traffic down and trying to protect both pedestrians and drivers along 19th Avenue.
Now that we've heard all about the problems and the challenges facing District 4, it's time to hear about the solutions and the opportunities.
The most positive things that I've seen happening in the Sunset over the last few years was Sunset Youth Center getting a new building, the Beacon Center being able to expand more at APG and NE, the Java group down on the corner actually getting more involved community-wide. Of course, my favorite place, Sunset Elementary, getting a much bigger after-school program. I'm very into the schools, and I see very positive things with the schools that are out here.
Sunset Youth Services is a organization whose target population is high-risk, low-income youth and families. We have a number of services and programs. We have our family support program. We give the kids a place to hang out, pool tables, ping pong, PlayStation, rock climbing wall.
Since I've been elected, I've only known a deficit, and it's always, no, there's not enough money, there's not enough programs, there's not enough things, but having the citizens empowered to do things, I believe in volunteering.
The shops going down Judah, we're all getting together and we're cleaning up, and we have meetings every Tuesday and we discuss the problems, and it's made such a huge difference.
We've done a number of cleanups, landscaping projects, and trying to engage the neighbors right around the district. We've started a number of neighborhood safe groups to also try to help neighbors get together and help really look after each other.
While visiting District 4, we were impressed with the residents' can-do spirit. When they had a need to address, they didn't just wait for City Hall to respond. They got organized, made a plan, and worked together to solve their own problems.
It was really Pat McGuire and the community that said, you know what, we want to take back the neighborhood.
Putting together this mini park first consisted of having Captain Sanford from Terraville Station realizing that we need to fix up the neighborhood. He got Fiona Ma, Captain Sanford, myself and my wife Buffy got together and we started a neighborhood group called Take Back Neighborhood Coalition. And we went door to door and talked to our neighbors, would you like to help cleaning up the bushes and building a little park? People got together, we put on our gloves, grabbed the garbage bags, we went to work and we just put it together and not only built a garden but built a community.
People looked at a piece of dirt that was nothing, just ugh, and they said, let's do something with it. And if you see it, it's all natural, and it's a beautiful place to be.
The cost of building this park was $0. Whatever anybody offered was all free. All the work was free. Even when we got the trucks to bring over the rocks, that was free. Everything was free. I think if you get people together and you look for a solution and then actually implement, it takes picking up a shovel or a garbage bag, putting on the gloves.
The community is growing. Trust, care, and understanding is what's happening in this community. And I believe is directly related to this park.
We're working with Friends of the Urban Forest who do trees, and we're working with Plant SF, which is a new organization, and we're all working toward similar and common goals, which is greening San Francisco and reducing urban runoff. We're sponsoring a Plant Don't Pave project where we go to homeowners and ask them if they would agree to maintain a green area in front of their house, and we'll go in, we'll cut the concrete, remove the concrete, purchase and provide the plant materials, and we're focusing on native grasses and shrubs. And the idea is by pulling up the concrete, you allow more natural saturation into the ground and less runoff.
One of the things I'm working very hard on is building community, trying to get more people involved, trying to give back whatever little time that they have or resources, but it seems to be really working. And an example is our Sunset Community Festival. 6 or 7 years ago, we didn't have that many people come out, and now it's a huge event.
Through conversations with our contacts, we uncovered many of the mysteries of San Francisco's District 4. But remember, the views expressed in this program were those of the speakers. For best results, we suggest that you come on down to the Sunset District and experience District 4 for yourself. For SFG TV, I'm Jennifer Lowe.